Yeah.
It just felt like a lullaby because I didn't get to start. So I was just listening and I thought, oh my gosh, it was like an inviting sea of sound. I thought I could just stay in this forever. It's so beautiful.
So, Vanchkapaturvascha, Kripasanyavevacha, Patidana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo. Thank you for your kind association. So we'll begin with a little discussion, I guess, see if anybody has any things from this week's japa they'd like to share. Mahatma will be joining us a little bit later. He had a family obligation. Yes.
I have found, it's not just this week, but I found that since I've been coming to this class, that my japa is so incredibly different. It's amazing. Whoa. I mean, it's, you know, I mean, I have good japa days and not so good japa days, but even my not so good japa days aren't as bad as they were before I started coming here.
Yeah.
You know, it's just amazing, and it's like I can, it seems like I can put myself where I can close my eyes, or even I don't even have to close my eyes, and I go into a different zone. And I just try to imagine Krishna's pastimes, and can see them, you know, and just in Vrindavan and doing parikrama. And I don't know, I didn't do that before. And it's really sweet. Really sweet.
Makes you look forward to chanting. Huh?
It really, yeah. I do.
Yeah.
You know, but I always have liked to chant. It's just I didn't allow myself to find the time to really focus and get into it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's nice to have that time. That's like the precious time of the day, and have that set aside to just. And I think also it's, as the more we chant better, then I think a lot of devotees have that experience that then you can get into that space easier. It's easier to, now's my time, I can shut off the world. I was thinking the challenge a lot of us have is the planning the day during the chanting, but as we go deeper into the chanting, I think my experience is that we don't have to plan the day, because or you can do it before. Like Sri Vrindavan was saying that you can, if you make your plans before, then it's done, and when you go into chanting, that's helpful. But also, I think we can just have that faith that Krishna makes better plans than we do. And just, it's okay to just chant and, you know, let him take care of things. You know.
I find myself with the weather getting colder, that I'm taking more shelter of the blanket and sleeping a little bit longer. I'm finding it, you know, the heat's on and it's warm, and I know that it's cold out there. I'm just having difficulty sleeping less in a colder climate. I don't know why.
Anybody else experience that? Hey, Pushkar. Anybody else experience that? Hard to get out of bed when it's cold.
I mean, I know it all boils down to like lack of strong desire, but I just noticed the difference in as soon as the weather changed. It was like, you know, there's something with wanting to sleep, you know, just like when it's warm and cozy, and it's hard to get up from that.
Yeah. I've experienced that.
You can get one of those throws and stuff, and you know, you get out of bed and you put throw around you, and then you wrap up. I mean, you know, you're all warm and cozy with the holy name.
Yeah.
It's just similar.
keep cozy. Yeah. Yes.
I was chanting this week with the one we give Hare Krishna.
Mhm.
So the first verse, the first prayer, O Radha, please capture my inner heart.
Mhm.
And I was doing for a few days, and I would just say, O Radha, and then I would say, please capture my heart, and then I would say, I didn't like the and.
Yeah.
I say, I don't want that, I want to scratch it out. When it's an and, then it's a break in the thoughts.
Yeah.
So
I find that also. I just focus on the first.
capture my heart.
Because really the last part of the verse is a natural consequence.
Right.
If she captures our heart, who has to worry about material existence? You're automatically free. So it's a natural consequence. It's not something that you have to want separately, In fact, our whole reason we're here is because our hearts aren't captured by her. So.
But one day, couple of days ago, what happened was I was singing in the great intensity. I was chanting, please capture my inner heart, as I was chanting the holy name. And all of a sudden, this something which I've not even thought about for like 20 years, horrible stuff, just came out. And it was, I forgot to say thank you for sharing and keep going. But it was so, because I just saw it, thank you for sharing. I highlighted it, but I didn't see it. But it was so horrible that I was thinking, why this is coming out? Then I realized, I'm asking out that I'm to capture my inner heart, so it's getting churned, things are coming out. And the only realization I feel most important one for me was that it really made me feel humble. I have got these dirty things in my heart, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm chanting, I'm having bliss and this and that. But Krishna is so kind, so merciful that even so fallen, that I'm such a fallen person, and he's allowing me to be present and be able to chant his holy name. So now I'm focusing more on the Nishtaraya and Aradhamam. That I'm most fallen.
That one.
And whenever I start thinking, oh, I'm doing so good at Nishtaraya and Aradhamam. And it's been very nice.
Yeah. That's nice. Yeah, these things come up. Yes, Prabhu.
I find that for me it's really crucial to get up early to chant, something like decent rhymes. So, I find that really hard in the cold as well, when it's cold. So one good way is to get a heater with a timer on it. And just turn the heat up full blast, half an hour before we're supposed to get up. So, there's temperatures the same outside as inside the sleeping bag.
That's good. Good suggestion for you. I think our viewers would probably think we've been living in Florida too long. We think this is cold.
It's supposed to be like 20 something.
Yeah, actually it's going to be cold.
is?
Yeah, it's supposed to be 21, 25, 21.
It's going to snow.
Well, there was snow here when I first moved here, In end of 89, beginning of 90. Harper was here. 2-3 days of snow.
with my son, it was freezing.
So,
I was just going to say one thing that's been helping me this week is, I've been, first of all, I want to say that I think it's nice having these workshops every week, even though it's short. At first I was comparing how is it having an intense weekend and then how is it having it like this. But I think for me that there's a continuity because it's week to week and I'm conscious in between time and I need to chant nice japa, so that's been nice, whereas when it was real focused and concentrated, it was really intense and I got a really good taste, but it was a little harder for me to maintain in the long haul. But one thing that that helped me this week is I was really I was trying to be determined to really focus on the holy name, and all these thoughts come up. So I started putting them in boxes. Like I had these shelves in my mind, and a thought would come up and I'd say, okay, put it in a box. I didn't have to think about it. For some reason in my mind it's like, it's there. I don't have to worry about it. It'll be back, you know. But just having that visual thing to take that thought, put it somewhere, and not have to deal with it was helpful for me. I don't know why.
It's like organizing the desktop.
Yeah,
and everything in a file.
And then I had a horrible thought, like you were talking about something really horrible, and I put it in this sphere and just sent it off into space where you couldn't see it anymore. And that was helpful, and it was like, that's not a thought that I want to come back and deal with. You know what I mean? It's like, no,
We don't have to get that one back.
No, that was just send it out there. So that was one experience I had. I just thought I'd share it in case it helps anybody else, because I
That's
found
nice.
by doing that I had to do it less each day. Like the first day I had tons of boxes on like about 3 shelves, and then after a while I just had a couple of boxes, and one was miscellaneous, one was something I wanted to share with the Japa group, and one was family or something. I could just, you know, put them in there and then not have to worry about it. But anyway, I just wanted to share that if that's helpful to anybody. But the other thing, I was dealing with something that was disturbing to me, and I wanted to share it with the group. I can't remember if it was last week or the week before. I appreciate so much that we're working with, you know, with the 3 M's, the method and the mood and like that. And the method right now, we're really trying to focus on thinking of different things that really could help us in our Japa. You know, sitting up straight and, you know, being attentive and whatever it takes, whatever that method is. But a couple of examples were given as not conducive. And when they were given, I thought of specific devotees, and it disturbed me. Because I was thinking, it almost felt like, and I think a lot of devotees here may have thought of those specific devotees too, when that example was given. And I was thinking that we may need to be careful because there aren't any hard and fast rules, that even though there might be methods that are more conducive to chanting nice japa, sometimes in our struggle with our mind, we may thrash or we may chant very loudly or whatever, and who's to say what's going on in that person's heart, in that devotee's heart, if they're really hearing their japa or not. So it was bothering me. It was something that was playing in the back of my mind. And one morning when I was chanting, and I was having some problem, I was thinking, I really want to chant with feeling. And, you know, and I was thinking that because we were talking about having a conversation with Krishna, that when I have a conversation with someone, a lot of times I use my hands. So I was thinking maybe this would help me focus in my mind, because just I don't usually have conversations and just sit here, you know, like this. So I was chanting, you know, and I was Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. You know, I was just really trying to chant with feeling and use my hands. And pretty soon I was realizing that if somebody else, I became self-conscious even though nobody else was there, and I was thinking I wouldn't chant like that in this group or in the temple, because somebody might think, and I was really feeling it, and it was really helping me, that somebody might think, oh, she's not sitting up straight, and she's not, you know, she's thrashing or whatever, you know. So I just wanted to share that. This was something that I've been struggling with this week, thinking that I don't want to become judgmental or think that I know something that another devotee doesn't, or think that I know their heart, or, you know what I mean? So.
Well, go ahead.
I just want to add to that, because that's really cool that she said that, because it reminded me of back in the preaching center when in Portland, Oregon, if Nityananda Ram's listening, he might remember this, but at one time I just stood back and I looked at every single devotee in the room chanting, and we had these big open windows, so when cars, and it was a house, a 2-story house, so people would drive by. And I was thinking, I wonder what these people are thinking when they look inside this window and they see one guy in the corner is like shaking his head and he's just going like this, and the other person is like blah, blah, blah. Everyone was just doing something completely that made them look a little nuts, but they were really into it. One guy's zombieing around the Tulsi just going like this, and just everyone's just doing all these different weird things. And I said, if someone was to look in this room and see all these devotees just absorbed, they would think this is a nut house. You know?
And sometimes we hear about that, I'm not saying we're avadus or anything like that, but, when we're giving ourselves up to the holy name, really in complete surrender, there's no telling how that's going to look.
Yeah. I don't remember if I gave that example but I think the idea of that instruction wasn't, at least I think I did speak about something like that, because it's mentioned that to chant in a peaceful state of mind, and we think of how Srila Prabhupada chanted, but I guess maybe I was speaking from my own. I wasn't trying to.
I'm not sure if it was you that mentioned it.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was
but
an example
just,
that came out and everybody laughed, and I'm thinking, this doesn't feel right,
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it wasn't an attack on any particular devotee, or any. I was just along the same line. Giriraj Maharaj was telling the story how when they stopped in where it was, one of these Muslim countries, was it?
Egypt.
In Egypt, and the whole place was like under military regime at that time, and they were young devotees, and he was very tired, and so he knew that if you're getting tired, you should stand up, and if that's not working, you should jump up and down. So they're on this.
I think at the airport.
They're in this airport in this Muslim country, and there's this guy in saffron jumping up and down. And later on, Jamuna told him that the guards all had their guns. So.
They probably thought he was going to blow himself up.
Yeah. So anyway, we've got some history with some pretty amazing chanters.
And I'm appreciating the methods that we've been giving, because they really are conducive to going deep and really being attentive. But I'm just saying, I almost felt like there was a borderline thing going on.
Well, and the sort of the methods are. They shouldn't, especially these things like that, they shouldn't be taken as like the all in all or the absolute. They should be helpful. And, anyway. Good point, well taken. Thank you.
Continuing from her point of this, seeing devotees and, find yourself being judgmental. I really find it's been kind of a hard thing for me as well, because like I see one devotee doing the kirtan, she's standing there and she's chanting. She closes her ear and she's chanting, and I know her very well. I want to say something, but I'm not sure how it will be taken, because somehow different people you see and you want to kind of help or say that
Mm-hmm.
And I when just yesterday I had the realization, when they are ready, they will find out, because I was driving and chanting. I was doing so many different things, but I guess when I'm ready, Krishna will direct me. Krishna will direct them to a Japa Workshop or to a retreat, or have them talk to one of the people in this group, or anybody who's gone to a Japa retreat. So I really let myself, okay, I'm not going to pass any judgment or try to. If it happens that I'm talking to them and Japa, something about Japa comes up, then I can share what I have learned.
Mm-hmm.
Because you really start seeing, and when you observe, and then it's like you feel, they could feel the same thing which we are experiencing, to some little micro degree.
But that's something when you've seen somebody doing two different activities while chanting, but I'm talking about someone who's chanting
I guess
and then passing
I'd like
judgment
to,
about the way they're chanting.
yeah. One thing I'd like to say about any of this instruction is that, or just in general, is that if it benefits you, it's in other words, the instruction isn't meant to, pass judgment on someone else. It's meant to, to look at ourselves, and just in. I'm trying to remember that one point, but I notice myself that sometimes my mind is actually busy with different stuff, and I'm trying to chant, and it's like the chanting is kind of almost interfering with my thinking, and there's and from the outside I probably look like I'm chanting very intently, bobbing around and all of this stuff, but I can see that there's a kind of an interference running there, and it does something in my body, and I'm doing certain things, and maybe it looks like I'm very intense, but actually I'm just struggling with the mind. So that may not be the case for everyone.
I mean, I understand how she assumed that someone holding the ear is not paying attention, or what was it?
Oh, no, they're chanting during kirtan.
Chanting japa.
Chanting japa during
Chanting
kirtan.
japa during kirtan.
But I don't know if that helps, but that was, that's what from that instruction, I've looked at my own chanting, and I've seen how I do certain, like I've noticed that when I'm actually not attentive, that I tend to slouch and my mind goes different places, and I'm still chanting, I'm still doing this, but it doesn't mean that my mind is there the whole time. And sometimes when I actually focus and get back, then I can hear. Oh yeah, I did say that, because the question, Srila Prabhupada was asked, how should we hear our chanting, and he said, as I'm speaking, just as I'm speaking, like we can, and I made that point that we can hear without doing all this stuff. So if it's something you can look at in yourself and it helps you, great. If it's certainly not meant as a tool to look at other people and judge what they're doing. I know I've seen in myself that sometimes I'm apparently intently chanting or trying to chant, but actually there's this conflict going on with all this stuff in the mind, and I'm doing all of this stuff. And if I just stop and let it go, I can sit peacefully and hear again. So that's I don't know, that's just maybe a personal experience that I have, and I guess I was trying to suggest that as an observation or something that we could look at in our chanting. But as one person said, mind your own chapatis. It's your japa. It's you're not chanting someone else's japa.
So it's our job.
Our japa.
It's not their japa.
Yeah. In any event, I certainly. Anyway, I'm sorry if it.
No, I was just
But it's
thinking it's a point of clarification. I mean, I'm not thinking that there's any kind of subversive anything agenda going on here or anything like that. But the fact that I was thinking about it this week and it just kind of was a thought that was playing there, and then I had that experience of trying to chant with feeling, and I was thinking, how does that look? And I was into it, and it was relatively good job. But I was thinking I could never do that in this group because I'd be You know what I mean? I couldn't.
Well,
Castigated.
I'm sorry that.
That's why I was.
Okay,
thinking,
well,
that's
I'm
why I
sorry
thought-
that you don't feel that you could do that in this room. I'm really sorry about that.
We have a room
Okay.
for thrashing.
Crashing, but it wasn't just sitting, you know. And anyway,
I guess we could say this, that, yeah, your point is well taken, that we can't judge by the external things, but I was just making a point of something that we could look at, and maybe it would help us. So, hi Priya. How are we doing?
A couple of things. I find that, like my mom asked me, says, how long have you been a devotee? I said, about 25 years ago. And you still don't know how to chant, or you have to go to class to learn how to chant. I just...
Prabhupada said it took him 30 years to perfect his japa.
I told her, that you're never too old to learn things, but she thinks she knows everything. And that's a whole different story. Another thing I find that when I try to chant, it seems like Maya is there putting stuff in my way, not just little things. Not the mind is going big stuff. And it happens, it's been happening, and it's been difficult for me to chant this last week. I know that the japa that I've been chanting hasn't been, when I started the classes 4 weeks ago, this week has been a real test for me, and I don't know if that's something because I'm trying to surrender. Maya is there and trying to tell me that, oh, this is not the way to go, this is the way to go. Do you have any explanation for that? It's not, and it's not little things. It's just like huge, catastrophic things.
Well, a couple thoughts, and I'll ask. My experience is sometimes it's easier and sometimes it's harder. But we just got to keep going and keep the faith, and yeah, there are tests definitely to our chanting, but it won't always be like that. If we keep if we keep going, if we keep trying, Krishna will help us. And I guess one point of this is that Krishna is a person. He's a very wonderful person, and it's not. We're speaking about different techniques, but it's not. A lot of it is not really just about the perfection of the technique. It's just that we're trying, and that Krishna sees we're trying. Krishna, Another thing is that Krishna's there, Srila Prabhupada's there, all of our acharyas are there, Lord Nrsingadev is there. There's a wonderful prayer to Lord Nrsingadev that we can chant. I was going to bring that before we chant. We can call out to all these persons as we're chanting when we're attacked by material energy. We can call for help. And I know a lot of devotees experience it. That help comes when they think like that. We're not alone in the battle.
Well, there's loads of prayers. I mean, if you listen to people like Krishnadas Babaji, before he would chant like 40 slokas or something.
Yeah, there's so many.
Either he's a Paramahansa because he did it, or he became a Paramahansa by doing it. But I mean, we have examples like that.
Yeah.
That's what those prayers are for. I mean, there's prayers to the holy name.
Mm-hmm.
Unlimited.
Yeah, Krishna Prabhu, when he first wakes up in the morning and sits up, he said there's a whole prayer that you would go through in this one scripture that's just a whole thought of like you basically just think about how you got in this whole material body before he brushes his teeth, I mean, it's a whole morning meditation. I remember we tried that in the Brahmacharya ashram, and it didn't work very well because we didn't get into the temple till late.
Remember before the 64 round day, Satyanandana Swami gave us some kind of prayer, some words of hope and encouragement, he said he's had times where he's been deeply in his chanting, and copulating monkeys came before, like all these things were coming up, and he just had to.
Things that he'd never even experienced in this life, they're coming from somewhere else.
Coming, and these different things are just coming, and he said it's when you're cleansing the heart, it's like the dust is coming up, past, who knows, it could be from so much, it's coming up, and he said you kind of just have to set back and know it's there, and it's the cleansing process, so there's going to be a lot of stuff sometimes that will come up, but
part
keep chanting and stay.
Part of the question was asked about what does it mean to beat the mind, but we have part of chanting is becoming aware of what's us and what's not us. Because a lot of the things appear really big because they seem like this is me. This is me, this is who I am, this is, so it's really big. But, part of the benefits of chanting and continuing chanting in association of devotees is to gradually see that those are coverings.
This is not even my mind. It's not the mind. It's things that are happening that I have to deal with.
Right.
Kids, big
Right.
thing
Yeah.
that I have to deal with.
Right.
I don't deal with it. And then you try to sit to chant. Like today, I sit down, get out all the prayers. I put the Mahamantra and then sit in front of it, and I start chanting. I can only do 4 rounds before I just get up and start crying. I just couldn't do it because of what's all the things in play, that's happening that I have to deal with. I was so distorted. I was thinking Krishna really does not like me. This is what I was feeling, that he doesn't, because in the last 14 years, stuff that has happened to me, that I'm trying to be a good devotee, but just things are just so much that I don't feel like, sometimes I feel like I can't go on anymore.
One thing, I'm saying this talking to myself because I don't do it all the time, but it is helpful, is journaling. That if you write down the good times, then when you have the bad times, you can at least go back to the good and say, oh yeah, there was a good time, 3 weeks ago, yeah. So it's like, because the bad times tend to cloud me so much, I can't remember the good times. Just
Yeah, I don't. Go ahead. And then we'll. I don't have a conclusive answer for you, except that Prabhupada's response was, this is the medicine. This is our hope is in the holy name.
Sukhe bolo, dukhe bolo.
Yeah. Somehow or other in happiness or distress. And also, Krishna does like you. I'm pretty convinced of that. The Shastras, I think, would agree. And somehow or other we're going through what we're going through, and by His mercy for our purification, it's easy for someone from the outside to say that, and it's not easy when we're going through it ourselves. But He knows, Krishna knows what we're going through.
You said last time to pray, Krishna, I'm trying, but I'm failing. Please
Yeah.
help. Srila Prabhupada said.
Yeah. I mean, you can just tell Krishna, I'm really trying to chant. I can't control my mind, please. Please help. I've had times when I was very disturbed about certain things, and I just thought, there's no way I'm going to be able to chant today or concentrate. But somehow or other that feeling of hopelessness that I couldn't do it, and just praying to Krishna to help, I felt like I got help. there's a story of Draupadi that it's a long story actually, but he asked Krishna that, why didn't you come sooner? Why didn't you come sooner? And he said, well, you didn't really call me. You called, for help from so and so, and you called. I didn't feel you really needed me, but when you really called sincerely, then it's described that he came on the chariot of her tears, because his horses wouldn't be fast enough. Nothing would be fast enough, but the chariot of her tears was fast enough. So, I think in the course of the devotee's life, he brings us to that, to call out to him, because we're actually helpless at every moment.
Then you hear that you shouldn't be crying in front of the yogis, and that's sahajya and all these things.
No.
I'm looking about my face sometimes, like, cry a lot sometimes. It's like,
No,
I do feel like I can't cry and
I
ask
think
you.
it's crying for yourself. I think it's different when you're crying for Krishna or
Well,
for yourself.
no, the sahajya means that they're feigning a position that they're not on. But if you're going through whatever you're going through and you're crying, admittedly our tears at this point aren't, the same as Radharani's tears. They're mixed with a lot of our grief and confusion and whatnot. We don't say that, but no, we should bring everything before Krishna. He knows anyway. I think.
Even the chanting of the holy name is supposed to be like a genuine cry of a child with
Yeah.
his mother. So
But yeah, she's talking about lamenting and crying, and different hot tears, cold tears, which is,
Right.
which is the which.
Yeah.
But there's some regulation there for devotion. One should not howl or cry.
Cry in front of the deities.
Well, it says howling or making,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry about the
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is purifying. I wanted to. Mahatma's actually going to be here in a little bit, and he was. What he's going to share with us is, I think, a class that he heard from Kavi Chandra Maharaj was talking about chanting with feeling or calling out to Krishna. So I think it'll be relevant to us, and it's a good point in our Japa Workshop journey. So I'm almost hesitant to read this now, but this was what I prepared. So we'll start in. Maharaj was, Satyanandana Maharaj, when he read this, it was at a certain point in his journey, and he questioned, have I ever really chanted the holy name when he read this? So it's not my point is to disturb everyone, but this is a very, I think, an amazing instruction here that we can learn from, and that I think can deepen our chanting. Actually, when I was reading this, I was thinking one of the prayers, the meanings of the name was, please purify me through the instructions of your devotees, I believe, something like that. Pure, huh?
Pray to Krishna.
Yeah. Oh, Krishna, please purify me. But it says that how that purification comes through the instructions of your devotees. So, of course, I think it's not the only way we get purified. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in one purport, he says, through the fire of ordeal. We also get purified that way. So this is by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It's from Sri Chaitanya's teachings. So he says, the holy name of Krishna means divine sound. It can be compared to a capsule of medicine. The capsule is not the medicine. Externally, one capsule may look like another, but within one capsule there may be medicine, and within another there may be cyanide, a deadly poison. The capsule itself is not the medicine. It is not the sound of Krishna's name that is Krishna. Krishna is within the sound. Amazing, huh?
Whoa.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, ordinarily we always hear that Krishna is in his name, Krishna is the sound, and he's saying that something that seems to contradict that. But we'll just follow with me here. The holy name must be surcharged with the proper spirit, not any mundane sentiment. The divine sound of the holy name must have its origin beyond the area of misconception or maya. Sound must have its origin in Goloka Vrindavan. The mere physical sound is not the holy name of Krishna. Repeating only the syllables of the holy name is called mayic sound. It has no spiritual essence. The life of the name is absent in offensive chanting. The most important thing in chanting the holy name is the spiritual realization backing the name. That is the real name. So I'll just stop for a moment at this point. And I think Srila Prabhupada also mentioned this idea, quoted Bhakti Vinod Thakur. He was actually hearing a kirtan, and he was not very happy with the kirtan somehow or other. And he said that simply the syllables are coming, but that is not the name. He was quoting Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and saying that there's a process, there's a sentiment. He would also say about the glories of chanting the holy name, but he would say, but there's a quality to that chanting. There's a quality to that chanting. And I was thinking another example could be a little bit compared to the deity. It's like Srila Prabhupada said that if a demon comes and destroys the deity, he gave this example, it's not that they've killed Krishna, right? Which has happened. There's been instances of this in history. So it's not that they've killed Krishna. So in one sense, we know that the deity can be made of various elements. There can be a deity in the mind, deity made of sand, right, marble, metal,
Well, stone.
paint,
Wood.
Not just
stone,
marble,
wood.
but stone.
Yeah. So these are material elements.
Tools.
These are material elements. We know they're material elements. But Krishna can manifest himself. And when he manifests himself, it's like we go to see Radha Shyamasundar. It's not that we think, oh, I'm going to see a representation of, we don't think like that. We're just going to see Krishna. So in one sense, there's no difference. When Krishna's manifest, we don't make a distinction. But at the same time, we can make a distinction. So here, he's making this distinction that Krishna may not be present in that sound, depending on the or almost absent in that sound, depending on the mentality of the chanter. And also, one other example, Srila Prabhupada, Jai Mahatma. One other example that I forget where this was, that there were some devotees that were doing some kind of not so good things, and one devotee said to Srila Prabhupada, yes, but they're chanting. And he said, but that chanting it'll take millions of births before they will be successful. And of course there's a famous quote in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that Bahujanma Kori. If the chanting is offensive, then one will not get love of God in millions of births. So there's chanting and there's chanting. Always somehow or other the holy name is beneficial, but here our Nishringa Guru is giving us some very amazing advice here.
There's another example about shooting blanks.
Shooting blanks, Prabhupada gave that example, I think, yeah.
I know Sridhar Maharaj gave it in a BTG article back in '72.
Uh-huh.
But I guess Prabhupada would also give it in a box.
Yeah.
Something about shooting blanks.
So, anyway, I'll continue here. The most important thing in chanting the holy name is the spiritual realization backing the name. That is the real name. Tape recorder can produce the holy name of Krishna just like a parrot. Actually, Prabhupada did give that example too. He said, the parrot can chant Hare Krishna, but at the time of death, when death comes, or when the cat comes, he goes, squawk, squawk. That was Prabhupada's example. So, but the physical sound is not Krishna. In the background there must be spiritual truth, which is conscious. You cannot capture the holy name of Krishna simply by vibrating the syllables of the holy name with your tongue. Ravana wanted to capture Sita, and he thought he did, but factually he did not even touch her divine body. Ravana caught only a mundane replica of Sita Devi, an imitation which was like a statue of Sita. You cannot vibrate the holy name simply by moving the lips and tongue. The pure name of Krishna is not lip deep, but heart deep. Ultimately, it goes beyond the heart and reaches the land of Krishna. When Krishna comes down, the name comes through the heart and moves the lips and tongue. That vibration of the holy name, that vibration is the holy name of Krishna. Let's just hear that again. I think every devotee has this experience that sometimes Krishna descends in the kirtan or descends in the chanting. We have this experience of when Krishna really appears.
Who wrote that, or what lecture was that?
This is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur from Sri Chaitanya's teachings, and it's found in the Art of Chanting Hare Krishna, page 152. So, when Krishna comes down, the name comes through the heart and moves the lips and tongue. That vibration is the holy name of Krishna. When Krishna in the form of sound descends from the transcendental world into the heart, and from the heart, controlling every aspect of the nervous system, comes to the lips and tongue, dancing there, that is Krishna Nam. That sound is not produced from the material plane. The spiritual sound has come down into this plane. He came down, he can come down, but we cannot so easily go up there. He can come down, but we cannot so easily go up there. The holy name is only realized when we approach him with a very intense serving attitude. So I think this was probably Srila Prabhupada's principal instruction on the holy name, really, if you take all of his so many instructions, and it wasn't always necessarily applied to the holy name, but he really taught us and trained us to develop a mood of service. This was certainly central to his teaching. And here it comes out. And it's also stated about Rupa Goswami that he could correctly understand all the teachings that Lord Chaitanya gave him. He could understand them in minute detail perfectly without any confusion because he was sincerely anxious to serve. That's the statement. So in many places, Srila Prabhupada says this, that really our essence is to develop our mood to want to serve Krishna. Then it says the holy name is only realized when we approach him with a very intense serving attitude. At that time, Krishna himself may come down by his grace, being attracted by our pure serving nature. Japa Day, chanting, just that prayer that you mentioned, "Oh Radha, please capture my inner heart," and it's still an important part of my japa. But it's not that every day is like that, that just have a formula, sit down, and do everything, and then Krishna's got to appear. It's not like that. But Krishna encourages us and to come forward more and more. He's working with us, sometimes revealing us to us, sometimes. Well, it's a journey with him, and he's giving us what we need to come forward. But we should have this. I think this is an important part of our understanding of our journey with japa, is that ultimately we're waiting for Krishna, developing our sincere service attitude and waiting for Krishna. So,
I have a question.
Yeah. Do you have you're going to do a presentation?
Yeah, I can or cannot.
I think it would be nice, judging from everything that we talked about and the heaviness of the topic.
But he missed it, some of it.
Yeah, but maybe a little discussion.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
Maybe
We shouldn't just drop this and
the question I have is, Namabhas, there's two kinds of Namabhas. One's Abhas means either a shadow or a dim reflection. And then we have Prabhupada saying that when you chant the holy name, Krishna's dancing on your tongue. And then we just heard it's not lip deep, it's heart deep.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems in Namabhas, it's just he's dancing somewhere and we're getting a little reflection. It's a partial name. How do we understand that? If it's let's say I'm not really coming from my heart,
Because like sometimes we say, well, just concentrate and hear, and we all know we're chanting, and nothing's going on, and maybe after 8 or 10 rounds we feel something. So was Krishna not there, or what was going on for those first 8 rounds? Was he descending? Was he far? So how do we understand?
It was warming up.
Was it sunrise or light or?
I'm not a realized chanter. I realize I'm kind of treading deep water with this subject.
Well, I just heard a quote today.
But I wanted to present it to the simple devotees because I think it's worthy of our consideration. My realization is not complete on this. But as my understanding of Namabhas it's sometimes, it's like compared to the first rays of the sun rising. So of course Krishna's present everywhere at all times. He's never not present anywhere in his creation. We're more or less conscious of him. That's one thing. So I think a lot of the beginning phases of chanting are just controlling our mind and bringing ourselves to Krishna and realizing that that's what we're doing. But Krishna's present there. Somehow or other Krishna is present when we're chanting. He's at least watching us chant. And because the statement is when our chanting becomes attentive, when we bring our heart there, when we bring our consciousness there, then it comes to the stage of Namabhas, and the purification takes place. So Krishna's manifest more or less. I would say that that's my understanding of Namabhas, is that Krishna is present there to some extent, and he's purifying us.
Yeah.
Well, I had this quote recently. I was wondering if you heard this or how would it fit in with any paradigm. It was like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta told his disciples, which were sannyasis, that this life they would only achieve offensive chanting, and that then the next life they do abhas, and
Wow.
that even. So
Wow.
it's not something that Prabhupada would say. It's not encouraging. Maybe
It's not
a
encouraging.
heavy duty thing where that could either bum you out if you heard that, or you think, well, I better do my offensive chanting this life. Or, in other words, we're talking about getting to the abhas stage, or the clearing. And we always hear about that, but this sounds like something really socking face, socking a false ego for sure.
I can't.
It's hard to get too puffed up if someone of that stature was telling you that. You probably have to,
Prabhupada says some things like that too. So sometimes he'll say, devotional service is not so cheap. So after many, thousands of births, maybe you'll get it. He says things like that too. Although he's, encouraging. And he also says we're dealing with Krishna, and Krishna's not so cheap. Perhaps it's one thing is for sure we won't get anywhere in our chanting if we're not humble. So these statements can help us with that.
That's for sure.
But there's also the other statements. This life, simple process, easy, anyone.
75% lean.
Yeah.
Grab it, I have the key to the back door.
Right. Yeah.
Simply
like
chant
that.
16 rounds, you'll go back to that.
Yeah.
Your ticket, your beads.
You were in LA, I think you guys were both probably in LA Temple when you said that.
Yeah.
Barari, it just reminds me, this discussion reminds me of like Krishna's pastimes when he was present. He's actually present there on the planet. There was only some people
That
who
realized
were
it.
out conscious that this is God, this is Krishna, Krishna is God. And there's other people who didn't see that. So it's like Krishna's there in his name, Or are we really conscious that this is Krishna when I'm
Mhm.
chanting it? And that's what Prabhupada said. One Krishna you could chant one time and you become pure devotee.
Right.
If we actually become present and conscious
Yeah.
that this is Krishna, Krishna's God.
But all
Put the
the
two
infinite-
together and really, so like you're reading this lecture from Bhakti
I don't think he's
Siddhanta,
Krishna. I don't think he's God.
and what did he do in austerity? His guru told him chant like how many billions and billions of names. When he went to do preaching, he was chanting in his hut. Right?
Yeah, he chanted
Like how many-
300,000 names each day for something like 7 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, he did
10
a long
10
time.
years?
That's all I remember.
10 years.
10 years.
10 years
Nine.
of straight chanting.
I've heard, I'm not sure.
10 years.
Anyway, a long time.
It's a tapasya he did, and so
Mhm.
he's got this realization.
Yeah.
Even before that, but for him it was probably,
Yeah,
okay,
Yeah,
I'll
that's-
chant for 10 years and sit down, no problem.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, he prepared himself for, he didn't feel competent to just go out and begin his preaching mission. He chanted for 7 to 10 years.
I was listening to that and I was thinking, what's his lecture? It's some deep realizations. And then
Yeah.
when you said Bhakti, I was like, naturally. I mean,
Yeah. So, yeah, I certainly don't mean this to, we hear both sides of these instructions, and Srila Prabhupada gave us very encouraging words, and certainly we should, we should always chant, somehow or other chant, and from the Namaparada Yuktanam, Namanyeva
No, Hanyeva.
Hagan, what is it?
it?
Anyway, the meaning is that we begin chanting offensively. That's where we start. But from offensive chanting, we'll gradually come to pure chanting. But the recommendation given by our acharyas is to fix the mind on the goal, to understand that we are dealing with Krishna here, and that we are trying to purify ourselves, and our goal is Krishna prema, not to just chant inattentively or mechanically.
There's also the analogy, Bhuma Skalata Padanam Bhuma Eva Avalambaram. If one trips, he's tripping on the ground, some rocks, and he falls, he also lands on the ground. So if one is offending the holy name, there's no other there's no other option except to keep chanting. You follow the person you've offended, but you still have to chant.
Yeah, there's a beautiful example that can soften our hearts. Just as if you slip and fall, there's no other shelter but the ground. It's the only shelter. So similarly, we're chanting offensively, but there's no other shelter than the holy name. And by continuously chanting, and then we come to the pure stage. So, Mahatma, lead us out of this dark place. Everybody's too serious. And I could tell you some even more depressing things. I actually told this one very depressing thing.
Can I see that?
When I was in Dallas, it took us like 20 minutes to undo what I said, so I don't want to say it. I mean, the depressing things can be inspiring. It's like if you eat ice cream every day, you're going to get very sick. So don't do it. It's something. Go to the hospital and go. These are all the people who ate ice cream every day. They're dying. So it's depressing, but it's instructive. Yes. You want to hear it or no?
Do we have 20 extra minutes?
The thing was, it was inspiring for me, and it depressed everybody else. So I was totally thrown off. But it was in line with what you just said, that the only thing you can do is chant to overcome aparad. And then in the Jaiva Dharma it says, if you chant
the Shuddhanam. That's when you get out of the offenseless clearing stage to the offensive stage, and it's called Shuddhanam. And you said the first Shuddhanam you chant, all your sins are eradicated. And the second one you get prema.
Eko Harinam Jato Papari.
And then it said, but whatever level of bhakti you're on, that's the kind of name you chant. So you can't chant Shuddhanam if you're not a Shuddha Bhakta. So, but the name will make you a Shuddha Bhakta, and then when you become a Shuddha Bhakta, you can chant Shuddhanam. So it's very interesting. You know, like sometimes we're trying to, like, buck the system, chant better Hare Krishna than we are in our heart, our bhakti. So as your bhakti increases, as your purity increases, then your purity in chanting increases. But the chanting will help you, theoretically, if you chant properly. That wasn't too depressing. I didn't tell you the real depressing part. I'll save that for another time. So, I just came back from Hillsborough, and Purnachandra Maharaj was there, and we had about 2 sections on chanting with feeling. And he said that Prabhupada said, our chanting, the quality of our chanting, it all depends on feeling. Which I think after these discussions it kind of becomes evident. And then I thought, yeah, that makes perfect sense, because feeling is juxtaposed to process, because in the process you don't need feeling to do a process. So then I began reflecting on, well, let me do a little play that he did. This was really good. This was really good. He was talking about feeling. So what is feeling? So he told the story that he was in the Calcutta train station, a train station in India, and he saw a beggar. And you know what beggars are like in India, the good ones? So he imitated the good beggar. And the beggar was like this. Can I stand up? You'll get me? So the beggar was kind of hunched over like this. And he had his hand, you know how they had their hand out? And he had this face like this. Just like this. And when he saw that beggar, he immediately said, that's it. That's how to chant. So the whole discussion on feeling is proportionate to need, and that beggar, he looked like he really needed donations. Like he was really hungry, he really needed something. So then we related that to the verse where Queen Kunti is saying, you can't say Krishna's name, you can't pray to Krishna with feeling if you're already full of yourself and materially satisfied. So the whole topic was based on need and feeling, with and so then he gave another example, which was kind of funny. He gave an example of 2 people, one person who hasn't eaten for 3 days, and one rich man who's overeating, who's never hungry. As soon as he gets one little signal down there, he fills his belly, so he's never hungry. So he was chanting the mantra, buttered bread, hot cheese, and tomato. Buttered bread, hot cheese, and tomato. But he was saying, if you haven't eaten in a few days, and you're thinking about, hot bread, but not hot cheese, hot bread, butter, cheese, and tomato.
Sounds like pizza to me.
Yeah. So let's say you haven't eaten for a few days, and that's all you're thinking of is hot bread, butter, cheese, hot bread, butter, cheese, and tomato. Hot bread, butter, cheese, and tomato. You're just like, that's what you want, and it's, there's something there. And if that's easily accessible and your belly's already full, it's hot bread, butter, cheese, and tomato. Hot bread, butter. It doesn't mean anything, because there's the necessity. So, if we understand that the quality of our chanting is going to equate with the quality of our heart and our need, you can't circumvent and say, I have all kinds of feeling, but I really don't. So then we got into the discussion of, well, I don't have any love. So he told a very nice story. I think this came from Shruti Kirti. Because this is always an issue. Well, I'm supposed to chant with love, but I don't have any. So this is like this ultimate, what do they call it? What's that?
Conundrum.
Conundrum. What's that fancier word? It sounds like a scientific word.
Oxymoron.
Oxymoron. Yeah, it sounds like a cleaner.
Or someone's really stupid.
Yeah. A super moron. Can't figure this out. So, I know, I've always found this kind of a dilemma. You know, you're supposed to do this with love, and then you go read Rupa Goswami and say, well, love doesn't come to like 3 stages after Anartha Nivritti. So, you know, I'm like still dealing with Anartha Nivritti, and I'm supposed to do it with love. So he told the story, I believe it comes from Shruti Kirti, that Shruti Kirti told Prabhupada, I see you have so many devotees and they're serving you with love and bhakti and devotion, and all I'm doing is just like washing your clothes and serving you prasadam, and you know, just like they have so much love for you, I don't have any. And Prabhupada said, do you like doing that service for me? And he said, yes, I like it. And Prabhupada said, that is love. So, you know, if we only define love as bhava or prema, then we'll look at that and say, well, I don't have that. But Prabhupada had broader definitions. There's another story, Giri Swami told me. They were in Gujarat, Surat, first time. I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of that, but all the devotees have tons of garlands on. That was the first time they were in India. It was the first time people in Surat had seen devotees, and you know, American devotees. They went crazy. So, and you can imagine how ecstatic the devotees were in their kirtan. This was, you know, you just, you know, off the boat in India, you go to this town, and all of a sudden, you know, every lady over 50 in the city is touching your feet as you're walking through the street and putting a garland on you and putting sandalwood on your head. You know, and you're just, you know, we're smoking marijuana a year ago, you know, sleeping on the floor in someone's house. So you can imagine, you know, how they were feeling. So the kirtan was very ecstatic. So there was a news article that said, the Hare Krishna devotees came to Surat and they were chanting and dancing in ecstasy. And so a disciple of one of Prabhupada's godbrothers read the article, and he sent a letter to the editor, and he said, ecstasy is the stage known as bhava, which comes 2 stages after Anartha Nivritti. There must be taste, then a shakti attachment, and that is, you know, so he gave the technical analysis of ecstasy as bhava, which they read to Prabhupada. And when they read it to Prabhupada, Prabhupada said, no, we were in ecstasy. So, and then you have this Shilavati. You know, all my disciples are pure devotees, that kind of thing. Yeah. So then you have this Shilavati in the early days of Los Angeles. She was the Pujari. You know. We would go out on Harinam and get back. My initiation day, I went to bed at 2 in the morning. So there, you know, we got up at 8. There was no Mangal Arati for us, but she was always there because she didn't go out. So she was pretty much single-handedly taking care of the deities. And so,
L.A.?
Yeah. So either with her or Ann Jamuna, he said, but they have love or they have bhava. Yeah. So he was perhaps expanding the strict definition of it. So then I was thinking, I said, it's really interesting.
There is a generic word, though, feeling, I mean, bhava.
Yeah, bhava, emotion, yeah. So I was thinking, okay, when we do deity worship, when we cook for the deities, do you go on the altar or go in the kitchen and think, I don't have any love, so I can't offer it with devotion? Or do you try to muster up whatever devotion you have? It's like, whatever it is, I don't know where it is or what it is, but at least I should think this is for Krishna's pleasure. And then Prabhupada gave that prayer. He said, Krishna, I've brought you this offering. What is the value of this body, or what is the value of the things I own? They're nothing, but I brought you this and I beg you accept it. And that's how Prabhupada said.
He also said no other prayer needed.
Yeah, wonderful. So
about that?
Yeah. Well, something similar to that quote.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was totally English. It wasn't like
what is the value of my body and what is the value of my possessions? So he was showing us how to manifest devotion that, you know, we apparently don't have. So then I thought, it's very common that devotees say, when I chant, I don't feel anything. We've all experienced that. And it's not common for devotees to say, when I cooked, I didn't feel anything. It's less common to say that. You might say that, but generally, you kind of get yourself in the frame of mind when you're going to cook, you know Like, if I don't cook with bhakti, Krishna won't eat it. So you're very focused on the idea that it's got to really be bhakti here. But we're not focused on the idea that if I don't chant with bhakti, Krishna may not accept it. It's kind of like anything goes there. And then I think oftentimes when we're chanting, we revert to that, I don't have any love. Lord Chaitanya said he didn't have any love, let's speak of me. So then I thought, well, wait a minute. If when we're offering arti or cooking, we're trying to manifest some form of bhakti and devotion, then why can't we manifest that when we chant? And instead of saying, I don't feel anything, why can't we do that? And I understand why we say I don't feel anything, because a lot of times when we chant, we feel something later, so we're waiting for the feeling. You know, the feeling's not there. You know, we're waiting. You know. How'd you like that girl? The feeling's not there. Maybe it'll come later. You know.
Chemistry.
Yeah. It's like, you know, maybe I have to see her a few more times. You know, it's like we're waiting, you know, chant more. Maybe the 8th round. Maybe it'll come on the 10th. Maybe it didn't come today. Maybe tomorrow, you know. So, I've always thought in my own personal practice, if I'm feeling that way, it's really a deficit on my part that I'm not, you know, manifesting any kind of mood when I'm chanting. And as Prabhupada said, it all depends on feeling. Not the feeling that will come 45 years from now, but the feeling we put into it. So, I think that's an important principle. I mean, I don't know if I've done 3 programs since since we started, and I don't remember everything I said here. So if I may have to repeat myself just because I don't remember, but I think we're always feeling something, even when we're not feeling something. Like even when we have the blahs, sometimes we say, I'm not feeling anything, but that's not true. We're just feeling bad. But we think we're not feeling anything, yes.
Well, I have 2 anecdotes I remember. Probably said about Baba. One was I was in the room with Barbara. She was talking about painting, and he was talking about different things. He finally got to the stage where he said, if a child paints Krishna, no one complains because there's Baba.
Mm.
And so that's a child painting. And the other one was a very, very extremely prominent musician that Prabhupada liked very much told me. And I even think another musician said a similar thing. They were playing harmonium and Prabhupada said, this is very good, you're playing very nicely. Both these guys are very expert. You probably know them, but I don't want to say internet might be incorrect, but I think it is correct. And he said, this is very good, you're playing harmonium, but many people try, but there's no bhava, there's no feel, they have no feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So that word could be used in different ways.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they should never chant. What does that mean? Should they never try? In other words, there were people playing and probably didn't like specific ways they played.
Right.
And so you can't really express the feeling too.
Yeah.
And does that mean you can't get the feeling also? Or if you don't have the technique? Child doesn't have the technique, so these things are interesting.
Yeah, he also said that about, maybe it was the same person. But they were talking about this devotee, and Prabhupada said, yes, he's a wonderful Vaishnava. When he chants, he has feeling. That's a Vaishnava, because bhakti is all about feeling. So, and then sometimes we're afraid to feel because we're afraid it's premature. But it's all about feeling. Then, this very interesting thing came up. At 2 different workshops we did, 2 devotees came up with this realization. And I don't know what sparked it. They said, they got into this meditation when they were chanting, that they made a throne in their heart, they put Krishna there, and every mantra was a flower they were offering Krishna, and that was their meditation. So
that meditational idea of placing, it was given by Srila Prabhupada, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyway, he said you can think that I've made a throne for Krishna and I'm worshiping there.
Yeah. And I brought Krishna Ganga water, Jamuna water, and I'm dressing him and feeding him,
like a
all in the
service.
meditation,
Service mentality.
So, it all depends on feeling. Chanting all depends on feeling. So, Purnachandra was making a nice point. He said the holy name is Chintamani. Chinta means consciousness. He said it's not Sparshamani. He said Sparshamani means anything you touch will transform. But the holy name is Chintamani. It's transformed by our consciousness. This is exactly what Bhattacharya was saying. It's coming from the heart. So it's how our consciousness is approaching the name. that makes it Chintamani, or makes us the blahs. So at least I would say if you get the blahs, you have more control over the blahs than you think you have. And you say, so what is that feeling? As we were saying before, the feeling is it's a kind of emptiness or hunger. Krishna, I need you. Or I'm desirous of a higher stage of bhakti and I feel a need for it, so I'm asking, I'm begging, I'm praying. So then we had another discussion. See, it's good that I stayed away, right? I can bring all this back to you. So we had another discussion, which is interesting. When we were discussing the meanings of the holy name and discussing the feeling, we went back to what Bhaktivinoda Thakur said. He said, Namarupa Guna Lila, when you realize the name is the same as the form, that when you're chanting, you see the form in the name. It's not, here's the name, and the name equals the form, and it's like you're kind of going both ways, equating them. They merge. Then it merges into the qualities, merges into the lila. So it's all in there. It's all within the name. So, like Prabhupada says, we're praying for service. So how are we praying? We're praying with the name for service. It's not, okay, Hare Krishna, that means I'm praying for service. Krishna, Krishna. Oh, so we're not going back and forth, but it's contained. So the feeling is contained within the prayer because we're asking Krishna. So I remembered when I was young, I lived on a street that sometimes got busy with traffic. So a lot of my friends lived across the street. So whenever I wanted to go back home, I would stand on the street and I would yell as loud as I could to my mother. And that indicated she would come out and cross me. So I'd yell, Mommy! Like as loud as I could. So what did that mommy mean? That mommy had a meaning, right? I didn't have to say, Mommy, I'm on the other side of the street, please come and get me. It was just, she could tell by that sound I was across the street what it meant. So
you were 18?
I'm a very protective parent. So we're talking about, well, what should I think when I chant? But feeling it's beyond necessarily conscious thought. It's there within the name. You're feeling, Krishna, I need you, I want you. And the mechanical japa is pretty much you slice out the feeling. It's just, okay, it's done to get the number done. I don't know if we discussed courtesy japa here.
Courtesy japa, yeah, you did.
Here we did?
Yeah, the first meeting.
So,
I don't think you taught
I don't think you showed us courtesy japa.
You really want to see it?
I really want to see it.
Well,
Just, you can explain the concept.
basically, courtesy japa is your focus is on the number. It's not on feeling. It's not on.
It's not as bad as beat the clock, is it?
No. Well, that's an aspect of. That's one kind of courtesy japa. Beat the clock japa. Remember, my daughter demonstrated beat the clock. So, courtesy japa is. There's a more subtle kind of courtesy japa. I mean, there's gross kinds of courtesy. You just you're watching television, or you're distracted.
The idea is by courtesy means that I made this promise to chant, so okay, somehow or other I'll chant.
Yeah.
It's a courtesy. I'm doing a courtesy.
Yeah.
But there's no.
You're doing Krishna a favor.
It's a courtesy. Yeah. It's a courtesy call to Krishna.
Yeah, right.
So courtesy to my guru, 16 rounds I promise. So there's a very, very interesting kind of courtesy japa. The grosser forms are obvious. You're shopping. You're cleaning your house. You're one hand in the bag, one hand in the email. Those are like obvious. You're in two places. It's multitasking japa. But there's a more subtle kind. Is when you're chanting and you're very bored with the chanting. And so you're chanting and your mind's thinking, this is really boring. So the mind in the mode of passion likes action, right? Or if you're in passion, you like action. So the mind goes in action mode and starts drifting off to more exciting things than hearing Krishna's name. So then you're doing, what did I call that? Killing time japa. Because the japa is going on, but you can do something else in your mind and really, do something more exciting. Like think about, how you're going to paint this house and the colors in it and what you're going to, something that interests you more. I could make this T-shirt and this, Devotees tell me I always read their minds. And Badahari and I can compose songs while we're chanting and get into it and dream of the next keyboard we want to buy and the features we want to get on it. Because it's more exciting than just Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, and Ram. It's so boring. So that's a kind of very subtle kind of courtesy japa. But the whole point is, when you're doing courtesy japa, you're not showing Krishna there's a need for advancement. You're showing
you want
Krishna.
to be with him.
Yeah, you're showing Krishna this is like, not really into this, but I took a vow. So when Maharaj said that, Prabhupada said it all depends on feeling, then it all made sense, because we began by saying it's a relationship. So relationship is all based on feeling. There's no feeling, there's no relationship. Did I do that? Did I do that play? That where, or just an idea. A husband goes to a marriage counseling program. His wife doesn't go. He goes because he's so bad. And they say, okay, this is what you do: get her flowers. When you come home, ask her how she's doing. Tell her you love her. Make sure you touch her. So he gets home, throws the flowers on the table, gives her a high five. How's it? How you doing? Hey, walks away. Love ya. Off to TV. Watch the news. So that's a process without feeling. So a lot of times our japa or service can be a process. So you understand when you put the feeling in, then there's relationship. So. Yes.
When you said that, it reminded me, I was giving art classes to some kids around here, and so there was several kids. So one kid, someone's house, he was in the other, right in the other room, it was practically right there. The computer was going on, there was all these noises, like he was playing a computer game, but he was in the art class too. So I said, maybe you could turn that off, because it's like really distracting. This weird, stupid game. He said, no, I'm getting points. So I said, you're getting points? What is it? And I saw like, in other words, he's getting points, So I'm still meditating. What the hell did he mean? He's not even there, but he's not in the art class either. His mind is on that machine, that computer game, So, it's like such a perfect example of something. I haven't figured out what. He said he was getting points. I'm still like baffled, like,
He didn't get any points with you. That's for sure.
I didn't get it. And what's the use of it? He's not even there playing it. So like that could be like our japa,
Yeah.
We're not even there. There's nowhere.
So, it's 8 o'clock. I want to.
Harinam needs to make an announcement before.
I got to say one more thing, because this is really good. If we didn't go so long, well, I could give you this as homework tomorrow. Before you chant, you can do this meditation. Imagine you're deaf and dumb. And the only thing you can do is chant in your heart. That's all you can do. You can't chant out loud. You can't. And all you can do is in your heart. And you're really in distress. Think of a time when you're in distress. If it's not tomorrow morning that you're in distress, think of a time that you were in distress and you're really in need of Krishna. And if there wasn't such a time, perhaps think you got stranded on an island and you're all alone, there's no devotees, and you'll wither away unless Krishna sends someone to save you. And you're just there, and you're in your heart just begging. And when you get that mood, start chanting, because then you can connect with the heart before you connect. Like Badahari is saying, it comes to the heart. So get it in the heart before it comes to the lips, and that way you can start from the heart. It's a very nice. We did that.
There is a shloka that says that except for the dumb, who can't chant. It says, Namaikam yashavachi smaranapata gatam shrotam gadamba gyana shuddha varnam shuddha mukha loka surava. That except for the dumb who can't chant it, that the holy name is perfect. It enters the ears.
Right.
You've heard that. Namaikam yashavachi. And whether it's uttered perfectly or not, purely, but except for the dumb who can't chant it, the mute, or the deaf. So I don't know. I mean, I remember seeing a brahmachari in the Gaudiya mountain in the 70s. He used to go around. He obviously was deaf and dumb. He got his bead bag and he was just saying stuff. But so he was trying. That's really amazing.
Yeah.
Probably chanting better than me.
there's the, for advanced devotees, there's the chanting in the mind. But we don't recommend that for the average person, but it's the same idea. It's just to get it going. I have to make one announcement. If you have an inclination, there's a Japa retreat in Los Angeles at the end of January. For all of you out there in Christian.com world, it's the end of January, and you can go.
Los Angeles?
Yeah, Joshua Tree outside Los Angeles in the desert, in a retreat center built by Frank Lloyd Wright, the famous architect.
Right in that place?
Yeah.
Does a devotee owns it, or you just...
No, we rent it. And Badahari's going to be there doing kirtan, and Giraj Swami will be there, and Yagya Purush, the temple president of 26 Second Avenue, will be there, and Dravida will be there. And if you go to japaretreat.com, you can get more information. Tell them Mahatma sent you. Maybe they'll give you a discount. And yes, there's a question. We have
You gotta
time.
go.
I gotta prepare for Prashadam, but it
Okay.
has to do with where we're gonna have it next week.
Oh,
and
okay.
also the checks, so maybe you can.
Oh, just to tell them that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can tell us.
I guess. Yeah.
There's a question. We have time. You can leave if you want, if you have to.
Rasura Sikha from Australia is asking, you were to Badahari Prabhu, you were talking about emotions during japa. When do we know when the tears are, when do we know when the tears are on the spiritual platform and when they're just mundane emotion in relation to the body?
For the most part, I think we can understand that they're not on the spiritual platform. The story that's given is of the Muslim. It's told in various ways, but there's one holy man who's giving class, and there's one woman that's crying. Every time he speaks, she's crying, and so he finally asks her, what am I saying that brings out these feelings? And she says, my goat. And I see that beard. I had this goat, and the goat died, and I just feel so sad. So he's speaking on spiritual topics, and she's having all these emotions. I would say, until we're on a very advanced platform, we can understand that our material emotions are mixed in there, but it's not bad. It's not bad. We're at whatever we have. If we're crying, and somehow or other chant.
Another example was Prabhupada talking about Radharani, and this one guy he said, yes, every time I hear about Radharani, I think of this barber's wife.
Right.
Radha. He was like wistfully. Bogus platform.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
Do you want to say something or ask a question? Yeah, go.
I would say that if you're in doubt about the source of the tears, then it's not the Dharma.
Yeah.
That's a good instruction. If you're in doubt, then it's not Bhava.
That's what I was thinking. We had this discussion also, because this whole topic of feeling became a whole discussion on crying. And then this discussion came up, and Purnachandra Maharaj said, it's not that you try to cry, you just be open to it if it happens. Just, be open to that. It could happen, and not think it couldn't happen, and not try to force it, but if it does happen. Mm-hmm. I mean, in other words, we were kind of looking at it in terms of, that's a kind of perfection, like an advanced stage that you could look forward to, that I can cry for Krishna. And then another devotee told the famous story of Jayapataka Maharaj, cry for Krishna. If you can't cry, cry to cry, and if you can't cry, cry to cry, and if you can't cry, cry to cry to cry, and if you can't cry, and he went 6 times removed. So just that being a very, just that you're feeling something. Even if you can't cry, at least you're feeling you'd like to. So we're feeling something. Right?
think Govinda used to say we've opened a crying school.
Yeah.
Right.
And when they went to Vrindavan, they went to Varshana, first time with Prabhupada, and then they asked Prabhupada, what are we going to do here? He said, we're going to cry for Krishna. That's our service here.
There's a whole chapter in the Shikshamita of Prabhupada crying for Krishna.
Hmm.
Of course, it's not all positive too. Sometimes there's quotes when he's saying, "Don't worry, the LSD will go as long as you keep chanting. You'll get over it."
There's a famous statement when one devotee said, "Oh, when I chant, I see colors and lights," and Prabhupada said, "Just keep chanting; it'll go away." So I think there's a lot to that. We're going through various stages in our evolution. We're cleansing. We're understanding things about our conditioning, who we are, and tears may come. It's all part of the cleansing. It's good, but it may not be bhava.
Well, there's another story, and they're all talking about going to kirtan, and one devotee said, I can't go to the kirtan. Prabhupada said, why? He said, because if I go, I'll cry. Prabhupada said, it's okay in association of devotees, they'll understand. It was probably in 1967, right?
This answers your question. If I were to see you chant like that, I would think, whoo, great. I would be very happy. Anyway.
Just regarding crying, isn't there a kind of crying though, like where the soul is feeling, like what Rabindra Sweet said about, there might be a point when someone is really feeling that I really left Krishna and I'm somehow or other, I'm in this situation where I don't feel for you, I'm not trying, sometimes the soul might really grieve, cry and feel really bad about that. It's not that they're in bhava, but they might really genuinely be feeling bad about how much you have turned away and keep ignoring him, and so there might be tears that are sincere, but it's not bhava, but it might really be helping the soul to come closer through.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he repeatedly says that when we're chanting, it should be with contrition and with a piteous cry, and all these. Says this many times, and gratitude and contrition and. So, I think so. Through the chanting, that realization comes, and that feeling of, that's humility. That's what's the description of. Anyway, that's one of the what.
Dainya.
Yeah, dainya, of that feeling of humility. That where does that humble feeling come from? It comes from that somewhat of a realization that, I'm. This mature. I left Krishna.
There's just reading here. Purnachandra quoted Krishnadas Kaviraj as saying, "The definition of bhakti is chant and cry." The Gaudiya sadhana, crying and chanting together. Devotees should learn this simple. This is the nectar devotion. Prabhupada's talking about crying.
Says that. Yeah.
He's talking about crying. Devotees should learn this simple technique and cry for Krishna. If you realize how fallen you are, that should make you cry.
But this also plays like with, when we hear Prabhupada doing bhajan, he's singing Narottam Das Thakur or he's Bhaktivinoda Thakur, like we can't arrange our emotions in a way that we will automatically or any way, hook into this. But Prabhupada's already doing it. He's not only he's so advanced, but he's chanting songs by these very most exalted personalities that ever were. Bhaktivinoda and Narottam Das, Lochan Das, and he's empowered to express it in such a way that just by hearing it, you don't have to do anything. You just jump on. You might ride your bicycle 5 miles an hour. You just jump on the supersonic jet. You don't need to worry about it. Just listen to Prabhupada and you'll hear it.
Yeah.
It's right there. It's been going on. It's ever expanding, and I highly recommend it.
This is Sachinandana Raj really. This was like a whole session that we could maybe have. Is it? These personalities, such as Srila Prabhupada. Actually, the way he presented this, he gave that one. I forget, it was one lecture where Prabhupada's speaking, and And then he just starts crying, and he says, "Don't forget you're dealing with Krishna." You know, he's just choked up with tears, you know. And when you hear that, I mean, there's no one that could hear that and not be moved. I can't express it the way he did, obviously, but when you hear Prabhupada say that. So he made that point, just like Pushkar did, that, you know, we have the association of these persons who are on that platform
So
of
we
feeling,
might have
and
this
we
weird
can...
idea of crying, like just sitting around, "Oh," but you know, that's crying when you hear that. It's,
Yeah.
you know, but it's ecstatic, you know, singing and instructing and crying and bringing everyone up and teaching you how to lament, and everything is all, it's not just sitting around like some baby, you know, making this awful noise, but he's crying in this ecstatic way that Krishna really likes it, to hear that.
Okay, I got a verse for that. After that encouraging remark, I have a verse. From the Atharva Veda. If you are crying in front of me, that's the only way to attain me. What a verse. So it's like Japa Maharaj says, that's the aspiration. It's a far cry from being bored while we're chanting, to at least be in the mode that, you know, someday I can, what Pushkar is saying, someday I can feel that, you know, enter into that mode. That's what Prabhupada said when he gave the Chintamani prayers. He said, enter into the mood. You know, if you hear the prayers of Acharyas and just, you know, try to understand what they're feeling and enter somewhere, you get, it transforms you, because we don't normally think that way.
This goes to what you said about the japa and the Krishna consciousness and the purity and everything. It's not, you can't like separate and say, yeah, japa is japa. It's all part of your whole sadhana.
Yeah, exactly. In the Jaiva Dharma, it has Namabhas, Vaishnavabhas, and Bhakti-abhas as stages. Not that it means you're a shadow of a bhakta. It means you're not complete yet. There's reflections of bhakti, reflections of pure Vaishnava, and reflections of the name. And so it said, when you're on, they all go together. All the abhasas, they work together. And then you become Shuddha Bhakta, Shuddha Vaishnava, Shuddha Bhakta, and Shuddha Nam. And so there's a whole chapter on Nam Aparad in the Jaiva Dharma, and the whole chapter is, it focuses you on the goal of Shuddha Nam. You want to chant Shuddha Nam, pure name. And that name is full of bhakti. There's nothing you're asking Krishna for but pure bhakti. And so, in reading that, after I read that, I was like, okay, pure name. When's it going to come? When's that pure name? And what do I have to do to get the pure name? And it was very, very interesting, because it makes it clear you have to be pure to get a pure name. And the goal is the pure name, because the pure name gives you love, and the goal is love. And the pure name is a name chanted without any motive. So I began thinking, okay, it's very clear now. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. Not sleeping, not being bored, not asking Krishna, you know, put more money in the bank while I chant, you know, get rid of my enemies, help me sell my car, you know, hope there's a new temple president, you know, whatever. You know.
Also, what she said about lamenting, or it's a lamentation means purification on that one.
Yeah.
I think purport to
lamentation means purification.
So however we're lamenting, if we're thinking of Krishna, we're going to get purified.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.